Hey guys, Alex HD here, and today I'm here with another video after, well, a long time. Now in today's video, I'll be reviewing two exotic submachine guns. The first one being the Osteo Striga, I think I'm saying that correctly, don't quote me, and the Riskrunner. Now without getting further ado, let's get into the weapons. Now then, let's start off with the weapon perks. Now for the Osteo Striga, the weapon comes with polygonal rifling, which increases stability, steady rounds, which greatly increases stability and slightly decreases the range, and hand-laid stock, which increases stability. The exotic perk is Screaming Swarm, which fires a stream of sentient projectiles, and the trait perk is Toxic Overload. Landing a final blow or multiple precision hits triggers a burst that poisons nearby targets. Now for all of you who are wondering, I'm only going to be using the very basic Osteo Striga just so it's fair, because you can reshape the weapon how much you want to get this specific perks that you want. Now then, let's move on to the Riskrunner. The Riskrunner comes with Arrowhead Brake, which greatly controls recoil and increases handling speed. Extended Mag, which greatly increases magazine size and greatly decreases reload speed. It also comes with Short Action Stock, which greatly increases handling speed. The exotic perk for the weapon is Arc Conductor. Taking arc damage increases weapon power and arc resistance. And his trait perk is Superconductor. When Arc Conductor is active, shots fired have the chance to become chain lightning and return ammo. Alright, now that I've listed off all the exotic perks and all the weapon perks, we will now be going into the PvE side of the video, and then shortly after we'll be going into the PvP side. Now then, starting off with the PvE side of the weapon comparison. Both the Osteo Striga and the Riskrunner do massive AoE damage because of their exotic perks. The Osteo Striga, with its exotic and trait perk, it shoots a load of swarm of like poison projectiles, and if you get precision hits or you just basically do a lot of damage to the body or just hit the body a lot of times on an enemy, it will cause the enemy to practically explode with a burst of the poison, which practically does a lot of area effect damage to loads of other targets around it. Just like the Necrotic Grips and Thorn, even though Thorn it only really works on one enemy. Now then, one of the main downsides of the Osteo Striga is its bullet velocity. It has a pretty slow bullet velocity. You can even see the bullets tracking. You can see the aim assist. Well, yeah, the bullet tracking is a bit useful because, well, it means you don't have to be as accurate, but you still have to be close to where you're shooting. Also, the bullet velocity makes it really hard to hit targets at range, and well, it's not really, I guess it's a bit my fault. I just can't really get 100% out of the weapon. You lot, the people watching, you guys might be able to get better results with this weapon, but I can never seem to just get any good range with this weapon, whether it is really good at close range. Now then, with the Riskrunner, this is the weapon I prefer out of the two when it comes to PvE. The Riskrunner I prefer as an SMG, even though it does less damage because it has a higher RPM. The Riskrunner practically shoots like an ordinary submachine gun. I prefer the range on it, and it also does AoE damage just like the Osteo Striga. Now, the Riskrunner is a bit more tricky with its AoE damage. To get Arc Conductor working, you need to be able to take arc damage. Now, which makes it a bit more tricky compared to the Osteo Striga, where it's just, you already get it. You can just shoot an enemy and you can proc its poison, while with the Riskrunner you have to take arc damage. Now this isn't as hard as it says, because if fallen enemies particularly do a lot of shoot arc weapons, so you'll be fine if you're fighting a lot of fallen, and also if you're using an arc subclass that uses pulse grenades, you can just throw it at your feet and then you can just stack Arc Conductor. However, you are damaging yourself in the process, but it makes up for it. Arc Conductor is really good. You can basically do massive amounts of damage, and you also get arc resistance from it. When Arc Conductor is also procced, you also get Chain Lightning, but the Chain Lightning does damage instantly. Unlike the Osteo Striga's poison, which does damage over time, the chain lightning does damage instantly, doing lots and lots of damage to loads of enemies. Now, this is practically why I prefer the Riskrunner, because it has higher range and it can do more damage with its AoE, unlike the Osteo Striga, which still does a lot of damage with AoE. However, the Osteo Striga has poison, so it does damage over time, which some people might prefer, but I prefer the higher damage with the chain lightning and the better range with the Riskrunner. So in terms of PvP, well, not PvP, PvE, sorry. In terms of PvE, it really comes down to personal preference, because they both do AoE damage. Now, the Osteo Striga does more damage than the Riskrunner, and it does more damage at closer ranges. And the AoE does it does damage over time. With the Riskrunner, it doesn't do as much damage on its own, but it has better range in my opinion, and it can do massive chain lightning damage. Now the chain lightning doesn't do damage over time, but it does more damage than the Osteo Striga's poison over time, just because it does damage instantly. So that's why I prefer the Riskrunner. However, some of you might prefer the Osteo Striga. Now, getting into the PvP side of the video. Now then, we move on to the PvP side of the comparison. Now with both of these weapons, one thing that I can definitely say is that they really are so great in the Crucible. While using both of these weapons, I just kept constantly getting outranged in gunfights by hand cannons and all other types of weapons. I couldn't, if I wanted to even have a chance in the gunfights, I'd have to try and rush in very close to them, which wasn't the very greatest idea, mainly because, well, if they had shotguns or fusion rifles, I was practically dead. And if they could actually just shoot me if I was just rushing towards them with no real plan. But if I really wanted to get any sort of damage out of these weapons, I had to get up real close to them. Now then, with Riskrunner, this is where I'd say Riskrunner is actually worse than the Osteo Striga. The Osteo Striga is actually better in PvP because of the fact that its perk doesn't need something to be activated for it to work. While with the Riskrunner, you needed arc damage for you to proc Arc Conductor, which is very, well, I wouldn't say very rare, but it is pretty rare for that to happen, because most people don't really use arc weapons. They'll be using a lot of kinetic hand cannons and then snipers and then shotguns and types of weapons like that you wouldn't really find in PvE. Now, with that being said, I will say the Osteo Striga did do alright in it. Because of the slower fire rate, it did have more damage, which felt better, and also the fact that poison did damage over time, so they couldn't just run away and heal up. So they had to kill me in the gunfight and then have to kind of try and hide so they can heal up. While I could just, if they tried to run away, I could just try and chase them down and really don't regenerate any health. But that's only if you've got poison. However, with the Riskrunner, if they ran away and I was chasing them, there was a good chance that they would regenerate their health, and then they'll try and shoot me back, basically. Now then, in conclusion, for the PvE, I think the Riskrunner is better. For PvP, I think the Osteo Striga is better. Now, the reason why I think Riskrunner is better in PvE is because of Arc Conductor. The Riskrunner alone on its base damage does less than the Osteo Striga. However, it has a higher fire rate, it has better range, and it can also, because of Arc Conductor's ridiculous amount of damage to AoE groups. The Osteo Striga also does loads of AoE, however it has worse range, and also even though it has a higher base damage, its AoE effect does less damage and it does damage over time, which I don't really prefer, because, well, you practically, even though it does damage over time, you practically kill all the other enemies before the poison kills an enemy itself, which is Well, the damage over time does help. I think our conductor is quite a bit better. Now then, for PvP, the Osteo Striga is better. Even because they're both submachine guns, the ranges are pretty similar anyway, and well, they're both really particularly bad when it comes to range. You could see in the gameplay I was constantly getting outranged by hand cannons and other weapons. So the Osteo Striga's higher damage definitely did help, and also the damage over time with the poison meant that they couldn't really heal and run away, and so they had to try and defeat me in the gunfight and then just run away and hide so they can heal. Anyway, that is my video. This is my new video that I've made. So if you guys like this video, make sure to like, comment, and sub, and I'll see you guys next time in the next video that I'll be posting in a week. And I'm so sorry for not posting in over a year. Anyway, see you later, guys.
Six